I am the only true immortal remaining in this world. With a mere wave of my hand, I could obliterate an entire kingdom. Yet I have remained hidden within these great mountains for 1,000 years, spending my days preaching the Tao to great demons, while beautiful demon empresses knead my shoulders. Just as I was indulging in this leisure, my eyes suddenly snapped open, for I sensed that one of the 12 jade talismans I had bestowed had shattered. For a millennium, a full 1,000 years, I have only granted these talismans to those with whom I share the deepest of bonds. I immediately released my divine sense to investigate. There, before the 100,000 great mountains, I saw a young woman gripping the shattered jade shard, her voice hoarse from wailing. I, a daughter of the Qin family, kneel and beg the Qin ancestor to manifest. I beg you, ancestor, to seek justice for our Qin family. At that very moment, over 100 figures emerged behind her. A woman with a malevolent expression glared down at Qin Shangyu. The Qin family was annihilated long ago. There is no ancestor left for you to call upon. You would be wise to follow us and serve the sixth prince. At least then you might avoid the physical agony that awaits you. Wu Meiling, if I escape this tribulation, I will ensure that the suffering you have inflicted upon me is repaid 100,000-fold. Qin Shangyu stared fixedly at Wu Meiling, while I, watching the scene unfold, shook my head slightly. It seems the time has come for this great Xia dynasty to witness a change in sovereignty. In an instant, I cast a thought and froze the entire group of black scale guards in their tracks. Moonrabbit, go forth and bring Qin Shangyu to me. A flash of crimson light flickered in the Moonrabbit's eyes. And the others, master? Kill them all. Qin Shangyu, now exhausted, no longer possessed the strength to remain standing. She lay there quietly, awaiting death, yet minutes passed and not a single soul moved to attack her. The surroundings remained deathly silent. She slowly pulled herself up, and seeing the scene before her, Qin Shangju was completely stunned. The black scale guard stood motionless, as if time itself had ceased to flow. At this moment, Qin Shangyu cared not whose power had wrought this miracle. She picked up a sword from the ground and staggered toward the frozen black scale guards. What terrified the guards most was that while their consciousness remained clear, their bodies refused to obey them. They could only watch helplessly as death drew near with every step. One by one, the black scale guards fell. Panting heavily, Qin Shangyu dragged her longsword as she trudged toward Wu Meiling. Wu Meiling's eyes darted frantically, desperately trying to beg for mercy, but she could not utter a word. In the Wanling sacred ground, I helped you so much, yet you brought my family to this state. I shall tear you apart piece by piece. Qin Shangyu glared at Wu Meiling through gritted teeth. She brought her blade down, severing one of Wu Meiling's fingers. Perhaps driven by the excruciating agony, Wu Meiling suddenly regained the ability to speak. Shangyu, I have wronged you. Please, spare me this once. Qin Shangyu's expression remained frigid as she swung her blade again, severing another of Wu Meiling's fingers. She continued to plead, Shuangyu, I truly realize my mistake. Have you forgotten that we were once the closest of sisters? If you only spare me this once, I will certainly help you seek vengeance and join you in overturning the great Xia dynasty. Qin Shuangyu paid her no heed, instead striking blow after blow upon Wu Meiling's body with her sword. Fortunately, while they were still at the Wanling sacred ground, Wu Meiling had been raised to the first-grade golden body realm by Qin Shuangyu herself, and as such her vitality was remarkably tenacious. As long as the wounds were not fatal, she would not perish in the short term. After tormenting Wu Meiling, Qin Shuangyu finally delivered the single strike that ended her life. Just then, the sound of light footsteps echoed, and a young maiden with rabbit ears descended before Qin Shuangyu, a truly pitiful creature. Looking at Qin Shuangyu's wretched state, a trace of pity surfaced on the moon rabbit's face. However, your performance has left the master very satisfied. The master has sent me to bring you back. Qin Shuangyu's eyes widened, wanting to ask more, but she no longer had the strength to open her mouth. The moon rabbit then turned her gaze toward the others. The master has spoken. Whoever dares to touch the Qin clan shall see the great Xia dynasty fall and a new era arise. Hearing this, the complexions of all present shifted drastically. Could it be that the Qin clan's ancestor is truly still alive? Before the black scale guards could recover from their shock, the moon rabbit flicked her hand casually. Dozens of those black scale guards, including more than 10 masters of the profound realm, perished instantly on the spot. The moon rabbit waved her hand once more, and she disappeared, taking Qin Shuangyu with her. When they reappeared, they were before my thatched cottage. I observed Qin Shuangyu with careful scrutiny, and she, drawing upon some unknown reserve of strength, collapsed heavily to her knees before me. This daughter of the Qin clan pays her respects to the ancestor. She had seen the portrait of the ancestor more than once in the Qin clan's ancestral hall, and my portrait was enshrined in the highest position among the clan's ancestral tablets. I looked at Qin Shuangyu. Her gaze was hazy and her body was covered in wounds. I gave a slight flick of my hand and a streak of white light entered her body. Qin Shuangyu looked at her hands in utter disbelief. Her body had been restored to its peak state, and even her 9th-grade golden body cultivation had returned. Ancestor. Qin Shuangyu knelt down once more and struck her head against the ground 3 times. I nodded and said indifferently, that is enough. I have no need for such empty formalities here, before instructing Qin Shuangyu to recount the entire sequence of events in detail. The Qin clan had been loyal and devoted, fighting north and south, yet simply because the 6th prince of the dynasty took a fancy to her, he had slandered the entire clan. Qin Shuangyu grew increasingly furious as she spoke. The clan head Jinlai had spent his entire life in battle, only to be executed by the slow and agonizing Lingxi method. Before the execution, his body had been so ravaged by wounds that the entire realm was shaken. The eldest son was framed for insulting the princess and beheaded. The second son was framed for slandering the dynasty and suffered the agony of being torn apart by chariots. My youngest brother, only 5 years old, was forced to witness it all before he was skinned and flayed to a tragic death. Upon hearing this, I furrowed my brow slightly before speaking calmly. That boy Qin Yu is truly useless. Since he was already working for the great Xia, why not simply overthrow the kingdom? Would it not be far better to take the reins of the great Xia himself? Since ancient times, a subordinate whose merit overshadows their master has only one path to become the master himself. Qin Shangyo was stunned at first, and then a look of bewilderment crossed her face. I then continued, if I were to grant you the opportunity, would you be willing to destroy the great Xia and ascend as its sovereign? Qin Changyu's gaze turned resolute. Ancestor, if such an opportunity truly exists, I would eradicate the great Xia imperial family and purge them all, leaving not a single soul behind. I nodded, feeling satisfied. Qin Shangyu was overcome with joy. Ancestor, does this mean you intend to emerge from seclusion? I shook my head and replied, the mere great Xia is barely worth my personal intervention. The blood feud of the Qin family must be settled by your own hand. Qin Shangyu offered a bitter smile. Ancestor, although I possess great confidence in my own talent, my time spent in cultivation has been far too short. It has only been a little over 10 years, and I have only reached the 9th grade of the Golden Body Realm. While the great Xia harbors an ancient monster at the Spirit Questioning Realm, even if I possess the will, I lack the strength. I wore an expression of absolute confidence. What is there to fear? Do you not still have me? Rest assured, in just 1 month you will possess the strength to lay the great Xia to ruin. Qin Shangyu stood frozen, finding it hard to believe. 1 month? How could that be possible? Beyond the 10,000 mountains, the 6th prince, Li Chengshuan, was lounging upon his chair. Li Chengshuan glanced indifferently at the girl before him. Do you believe your sister will survive to see me again? The girl remained expressionless. I do not care. This girl was the youngest daughter of the Qin family, Qin Jiawei. Li Chengshuan did not kill the youngest daughter of the Qin family, but kept her by his side. He desired to claim both Qin Shiwei and Qin Jiawei for his harem. Ignoring Li Chengshuan, Qin Jiawei looked up toward the distant 10,000 mountains, her eyes filled with concern. She buried her hatred deep within her heart, waiting for a chance to seek vengeance. Li Chengshuan spoke nonchalantly, Wu Meiling, how long has it been since they departed? At that moment, an old man dressed as a eunuch hurried forward. Your Highness, the eldest daughter of the Wu family and her companions have been inside for 3 hours now, and having reached the tribulation transcendence realm, a mere wave of his hand could topple mountains and sever rivers. Behind Cao Huayuan stood several hundred black scale guards clad in pitch-black armor. These black scale guards were all formidable experts of the profound realm. It was truly hateful that these guards had been personally selected by the Qin family from across the land, trained to become masters of the profound realm, only to ultimately become the executioners who would slaughter the Qin family. Truly a bunch of useless trash. 3 hours have passed, and they have yet to emerge, Li Chengyuan coldly snorted. Immediately send word to them. Tell them to conclude this swiftly and bring Qin Changyu back. Give them another half hour. If they fail, there is no need for them to return. Cao Huayuan nodded and immediately produced an object resembling a wooden kite. After channeling his true qi into it, the wooden kite came to life, flapping its wings as it flew deep into the 10,000 great mountains. In the blink of an eye, the half hour passed, yet the message kite provided no response. This caused Li Chengyuan's expression to darken significantly. Those damnable dogs need not return then. Eunuch Cao, take your men inside and bring Qin Changyu here. As for the others, kill them all. Cao Huayuan bowed to receive the order but hesitated, hurriedly asking, should I also kill the eldest daughter of the Wu family? Li Chengyuan nodded. She is but a woman. Kill her as well. This time, Cao Huayuan did not say another word. He led 100 black scale guards into the 10,000 great mountains. In less than half an hour they arrived, but what met their eyes was a scene of horrific carnage. How could this be? Half of the black scale guards lay dead, their internal organs shattered by a massive force, while the remaining half had perished under the blade of Qin Hongguang. Cao Huayuan's expression turned deathly grave. It is likely that some high-level expert has intervened to assist Qin Changyu. At the same moment, I flicked my sleeve, and an image manifested before Qin Changyu, showing Cao Huayuan and his forces standing amidst the site where she had slaughtered the black scale guards. That old dog Cao Huayuan. At the very instant she caught sight of him, Qin Changyu's eyes turned bloodshot. When he led his troops to storm the Qin estate, he was the one who had personally slain the greatest number of her kin. It seems this eunuch has earned your deepest hatred. I spoke calmly with a single thought. I could erase him from existence, but I wish for you to end him with your own hands. Qin Changyu's killing intent soared, then let that dog live a while longer. When I have grown stronger, I shall carve him into 1,000 pieces. I shook my head and replied, there is no need to wait that long. You can kill him right now. Having said this, before Qin Changyu could react in surprise, I reached out and tapped her brow, sending a surge of spiritual light into her consciousness. Qin Changyu's delicate body trembled slightly. In the blink of an eye, her cultivation base surged from the 9th grade of the Golden Body Realm to the 9th grade of the Transformation Realm. She had bypassed an entire major realm in a single breath. Her cultivation continued to skyrocket, eventually coming to a halt at the 9th grade of the Calamity Realm. merely a single step away from entering the spirit inquiry realm. An unprecedented sense of confidence surged within her heart. Many thanks, Ancestor, for elevating my cultivation. This junior will be sure to keep your teachings engraved upon my heart. I chuckled softly and replied, it is but the 9th grade of the Calamity Realm. Your limits are certainly not confined to this level. 1 month from now you shall topple the entire Great Sha Empire. Qin Changyu trembled from head to toe. She could sense that my cultivation level seemed to transcend the limitations of this world entirely. I understand. This junior will not fail the Ancestor's expectations. Qin Changyu spoke with deep reverence. I raised my hand and a sword, burning with a crimson glow, manifested before her. This blade is named Qi Huang, the foremost slaughtering sword under the heavens. Today I grant you the power of massacre. Today I bestow upon you the authority to slaughter. This is the Qi Huang sword. Qin Changyu spoke in disbelief. The Qi Huang sword, that was the personal blade of the world's greatest god of slaughter, Qi Huang. Several centuries ago, Qi Huang had already reached the 9th grade of the spirit inquiry realm. He was but a short step away from the realm of shattering the void, yet he suddenly vanished, leaving no trace behind. The Qi Huang sword is a 9th grade spiritual artifact, an item of extreme rarity in this world. As you command, Ancestor. As Qin Changyu gripped the Qi Huang sword, a surge of overwhelming, malevolent killing intent flooded into her body. She could clearly perceive the sheer terror within that aura of slaughter. Even though she was now the master of this blade, she could not help but feel a lingering sense of dread. At this moment, she was confident that she possessed the strength to strike down even those at the 1st grade of the spirit inquiry realm. Wait patiently. It is likely that Cao Huayuan will come knocking at our door before long. I waved my hand, sat back into my rattan chair, and closed my eyes to begin claiming the system's rewards. Indeed, I am a transmigrator. My system grants me absolute invincibility within a designated domain upon completing assigned tasks. It took me a full 10 years to ensure my domain covered the entirety of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Rescue Qin Changyu, rewarded with 10,000 domain points. Nurture Qin Changyu to the 9th grade of the Calamity Realm, rewarded with 50,000 domain points. Total remaining, 60,000 domain points. Would you like to expand your domain? I chose to utilize all my domain points to expand its range. I could clearly sense the domain being forcefully extended by another 1,200 Li. This was an unprecedented rate of expansion. I reached out with my senses and immediately perceived that the 6th Prince, Li Chengxuan, was standing guard just outside the 10,000 Great Mountains. I cast a single glance at them and dismissed them from my mind, turning my attention instead to Qin Jiawei, for upon Qin Jiawei I sensed an aura of bloodline power akin to that of Qin Changyu. 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye, and Cao Huayuan arrived, leading 100 black scale guards in his wake. Standing before a mountain fortress deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains, Cao Huayuan was filled with profound suspicion. In this desolate wilderness, devoid of any soul, why would a mountain fortress suddenly appear? But what truly astonished him was that at this very moment, the gates of the fortress creaked open. A stunning young woman in a crimson dress stained with fresh blood stood right behind the threshold. It was Qin Changyu. Cao Yuan rejoiced inwardly. Ha, one searches fruitlessly through worn-out shoes, only to find it so easily. Qin Changyu, you had best surrender obediently. A commander named Zhao Tai stared fixedly at Qin Changyu, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Surrender obediently? I have come to kill you all. Qin Changyu stepped forward, clutching a long sword dripping with blood. As these words fell, the black scale guards burst into raucous laughter. Qin Changyu continued her advance. I remember your name is Zhao Tai. You were trained by my own father. Zhao Tai let out a laugh. Ha, the eldest miss has such a good memory. Tell me, would it not have been better if you had simply yielded to the 6th prince? You have no idea how miserable your old man looked before he died. There was not a single intact piece of flesh left on his body. Do you know what the taste of being sliced to death is like? It was all because of you. Upon hearing these words, a flash of anguish crossed Qin Changyu's eyes. I will slice you to pieces. Qin Changyu glared intensely at Zhao Tai. Haha, that remains to be seen, provided the eldest miss has the capability to do so. Zhao Tai sneered in disdain and waved his hand, signaling the 90 black scale guards at the transformation realm to charge forward. Qin Changyu gripped her crimson sword, took a single step, and suppressed her cultivation down to the 9th grade of the transformation realm. She feared that if she were to reveal her true power, even though she is only at the 9th grade of the transformation realm, with my guidance and the accompaniment of the Crimson Sovereign Sword, she is no longer an ordinary 9th grade cultivator. The dozen black scale guards did not even have time to react before they were engulfed by sword chi and torn to shreds in an instant. How could a mere 9th grade transformation realm cultivator possess such power? Zhao Tai gasped, his heart filled with disbelief. Even Cao Huayuan's pupils constricted. He stared at Qin Changyu in horror. How could anyone achieve a breakthrough across an entire major realm in such a short span of time? Unless she had been concealing her true cultivation level all along. Zhao Tai and the others arrived at the same conclusion. Qin Changyu, you hide your depth well. And what if she is only at the 9th grade of the transformation realm? In the eyes of those at the Calamity Realm, she was nothing more than an ant. Yet, in the brief moment he spoke, Qin Changyu had already brandished her blade and slain over 20 black scale guards. Qin Changyu let out a cold snort, gripped the hilt with both hands, and struck down toward the remaining black scale guards. Countless streams of sword chi erupted, manifesting into terrifying blood-red dragons. The Imperial Dragon Sword Art. How do you know the Imperial Dragon Sword Art? Cao Yuan's shrill voice rang out as he gazed in terror at the dozens of blood dragon sword auras. It was unbelievable. According to legend, the Imperial Dragon Sword Art was among the most supreme techniques in the world. It was not a sword technique of the Great Xia, but the royal secret art of the neighboring Vermilion Bird Kingdom. It was recognized as one of the world's preeminent top-tier sword techniques. I was taught this Imperial Dragon Sword Art years ago when I married the Empress of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, and later, I simply passed it on to Qin Changyu. At the very moment the sword chi was unleashed, all the black scale guards were shredded into fragments. Zhao Tai was so shocked by the scene before him that he stood frozen in place, but he quickly regained his composure and barked, "Everyone, stop wasting time. Charge together and capture her alive. Her cultivation has reached the 9th grade of the transformation realm. If we capture her and bring her back, it will be of immense benefit to the 6th prince's cultivation. That would undoubtedly be a great service." With that, he drew a black longsword and began to slowly advance toward Qin Changyu. Huaiwan, being extremely cautious, did not make a move, keeping his eyes locked firmly on Qin Changyu. But at that very moment, something even more terrifying occurred. The Crimson Sovereign Sword in Qin Changyu's hand drained the blood from the fallen black scale guards and rapidly condensed it into 10 terrifying blood tigers. With a casual wave of her hand, the blood tigers tore through their targets. One of the black scale guards who had reached the 1st grade of the Calamity Realm was instantly annihilated. Witnessing this, Cao Huayuan sucked in a cold breath of air. It is the Crimson Sovereign Sword again. How could you possibly possess the Crimson Sovereign Sword? Although Cao Yuan had never laid eyes on the Crimson Sovereign Sword, he had long heard of its fearsome reputation. Qin Changyu did not spare a glance for Cao Huayuan's look of terror. As the sword swung forth, 9 blood tigers lunged directly toward Zhao Tai. "Daughter of the Qin family, today I shall take your head." Qin Changyu held the Crimson Sovereign Sword in her hand, her gaze as cold as ice. Zhao Tai roared, "How can this be? Clearly you were only at the 9th grade of the Golden Body stage before. How could you possibly be this strong?" A flicker of reverence appeared in Qin Changyu's eyes as she replied, "Because I have received the blessing of the Qin family ancestor." Immediately after Qin Changyu finished speaking, her cultivation base began to surge frantically. In but a fleeting moment, she shattered the shackles of the 9th grade transformation realm, ascending into the 1st grade of the tribulation realm, climbing steadily until she reached the 9th grade of the tribulation realm. A terrifying pressure descended, shrouding the entire area outside the mountain stronghold, locking onto both Zhao Tai and Cao Huayuan. The expressions of the two men shifted drastically as a boundless dread surged within their hearts. The Qin family ancestor is indeed still alive. To allow Qin Chengyu's cultivation to break through 2 major realms in such a short span of time, the power of the Qin family ancestor is truly beyond imagination. Just as Zhao Tai was gripped by panic, the blood tiger clamped its jaws onto him, severing his head instantly. In the blink of an eye, of the 100 men who came to capture Qin Changyue, only Cao Huayuan remained. He knew full well he was no match for her. "I can help you take revenge against the Great Xia. With my assistance, destroying them will be far easier," Cao Huayuan pleaded. Qin Changyu let out a cold laugh. "Do you honestly believe you are worthy of such a deal?" With that, Qin Changyu flicked her wrist, and a monstrous torrent of sword intent erupted. Cao Yuan roared, a blue halo of light igniting around him as he poured every ounce of his true qi into a desperate attempt to block the sword strikes. Yet, in the blink of an eye, his protective barrier of true qi was utterly shattered. Qin Changyu did not end him immediately, opting instead to let him taste the agony of a slow, grueling execution. Only then did she deliver the final strike to end Cao Huayuan's life. Qin Changyu's eyes grew colder still. Cao Huayuan could no longer even let out a cry of pain as his body collapsed heavily to the ground. Qin Changyu surveyed the corpses scattered across the earth, yet her heart remained calmer than ever before. For she knew that a long and arduous path still lay ahead. Carrying the Crimson Sovereign Sword, Qin Changyu turned and stepped into the mountain stronghold. She discovered that many great demons were watching her, their eyes filled with profound admiration. Yet she could sense that every great demon present was extraordinarily formidable, concealing earth-shattering power within their forms. Even the weakest among them possessed a cultivation base, at least at the Wenling realm. This left Qin Changyu silently pondering, how could a human cultivator command such a vast number of great demons to bow and pledge their allegiance? The ancestor Qin Changyu collapsed to his knees, kowtowing with profound respect. "Cao Go is dead," I stated as I opened my eyes. "Since Cao Go has met his end, go wash yourself and change into clean robes. You shall remain here for now. Seek your vengeance only when your cultivation has reached a sufficient level." "This junior obeys," Qin Changyu replied, following you two as he departed. I spoke with an air of indifference. After I sent Tiangu on an errand, it was not long before a gaunt golden hound, walking upright on its 2 hind legs, approached. "Master, look at Great Yellow. Discard the corpse of Cao Huayuan before the 6th prince of the Great Xia dynasty." "As you command, master." Tiangu responded with a respectful bow before turning to leave the mountain stronghold. At the same time, outside the 10,000 great mountains, the 6th prince sat within a pavilion, his expression growing increasingly grim. "How long have eunuch Cao and his men been inside?" A black scale guard of the 6th rank Duji realm stepped forward. "Reporting to your highness, it has already been 4 hours." Li Chengshuan's expression darkened further. It appears that Cao Huayuan will not be returning. Has there been any response from the Wanling Sacred Land? A black scale guard replied, "They have responded, Your Highness. They say they are currently deliberating whether it is necessary for their ancestor to emerge from seclusion." Li Chengshuan furrowed his brows. To capture a mere nobody like Qin Changyu, do I truly need to summon the ancestor of the Wanling Sacred Land? It was truly laughable, yet at that very moment a figure abruptly appeared atop the mountain peak. "The Cao Huayuan you seek, I have brought him to you." A cold voice rang out. The speaker was none other than Tiango. Immediately afterward, a blood-soaked skeleton was hurled directly toward Li Chengshuan. Li Chengshuan's expression changed violently. Wang reacted with lightning speed, stepping forward to catch the skeleton's ribcage with his black blade before lowering it to the ground. Meanwhile, hundreds of other black-scale guards surged forward, surrounding the Tiango beast in the blink of an eye. Wang Meng stared intently at Tiango, his killing intent erupting in a blinding surge. But when everyone looked closely at the mangled, bloodied remains, they discovered the victim was indeed the great internal superintendent Cao Huayuan. Only Qin Jiawei, upon witnessing the gruesome state of Cao Huayuan, felt no revulsion. Instead, her heart was filled with a sense of immense satisfaction. She thought to herself, "Kill him well. Our human race and your demon race have long held to the principle that the river water does not interfere with the well water. Yet you dare to slaughter a master of my human." Wang Mang stared intently at Tiango, his eyes betraying a clear intent to kill. Tiango let out a cold laugh. "Do the humans and the demon race not stay within their own borders? If it were not for the sake of our master, your human race would have long been slaughtered into extinction." "What did you say?" Wang Mang was stunned, and his brows immediately furrowed tightly. Moments later, Tiango vanished without a trace, leaving only these words. "Do you truly think a mere Dou-Yi realm cultivator like yourself is enough to declare war on the demon race? You do not yet possess the qualifications for that." Watching Tiango vanish on the spot, Wang Mang's pupils contracted violently. He instantly realized that the opponent was at the very least a terrifying existence at the Wenling realm. Li Chengyuan stared at the spot where Tiango had disappeared, his heart filled with seething rage. He then turned his head to look at Wang Mang. "Go report this matter to His Majesty immediately. Tell him that Qin Shengyu is colluding with the demon race, having murdered a high-ranking official of our Great Xia. Our Great Xia shall immediately declare war on the demon race. Furthermore, issue an order to the Wanling Holy Land at once, commanding them to march to the Shiwan Great Mountains immediately." "As you command, Your Highness." Wang Mang turned and departed. Li Chengyuan glared toward the Shiwan Great Mountains, grinding his teeth as he spoke. "I truly wish to see what kind of ability this creature within the Shiwan Great Mountains possesses to dare obstruct this prince from finding his target." The Wanling Holy Land is one of the 5 great holy lands of the Great Xia dynasty, and their sect master is in existence at the Wenling realm. It is said that the Wan Holy Land also possesses an old ancestor who spends the entire year in closed-door cultivation, his power capable of shaking the heavens and earth, so much so that even the emperor of the Great Xia dynasty must show him a measure of respect. At this moment, within the Wanling Holy Land, 12 elders of the Dui realm were debating whether they should send troops to assist Li Chengyuan in capturing Qin Changyu. After discussing until the end, no one could convince the others. The sect master Wang Jinxiang finally spoke up. "Very well, if none of you can reach a decision, then we have no choice but to seek the guidance of the old ancestor." Wang Jianxiong stood up, his vague Wenling realm pressure weighing down upon all the elders. Following this, the 12 elders accompanied Wang Jianxiong to the place where the Wanling old ancestor was in seclusion, and they bowed, saying, "Old ancestor, we have an urgent matter to report." "What is it?" An aged voice echoed from within the forbidden grounds. Wang Jianxiong did not hesitate and recounted the entire sequence of events in meticulous detail. The moment he finished, the Wanling old ancestor bellowed, "What? Qin Changyu has already entered the Shiwan Great Mountains?" Just then, the gates of the forbidden grounds rumbled open and a hunched, elderly figure appeared before them, his terrifying aura so oppressive that everyone present found it difficult to breathe. With a mere flick of his hand, he extinguished the lives of 7 elders. "It seems I have been in seclusion for far too long, allowing those who do not know the height of the sky or the depth of the earth to defy the sect's laws." Wanling Lao Tzu gazed at Wang Jianxiong. "Tell me, what are the 2 most important tenets of the Wanling sacred land?" Wang Jianxiong's scalp tingled, and he hurriedly replied, "We must maintain our alliance with the Qin family, and without the old ancestor's decree, we are strictly forbidden from approaching the 10,000 mountains." Wanling Laozu replied coldly, "Then why have you treated my words as if they were mere whispers in the wind?" Wang Jianxiong gritted his teeth and answered, "The events involving the Qin family unfolded too rapidly. I could not have intervened in time even if I wanted to. Furthermore, the great Xia emperor secretly sanctioned this move, and I dared not interfere." Wanling Laoz nodded. "From this day forth, the Wanling sacred land shall sever all ties with the great Xia dynasty." Wang Jianxiong started, his voice trembling with disbelief. "What? Is this all because of Qin Changyu?" Ling Laozu cast a cold glance at him. "It is not because of Qin Changyu, but because of the one who stands behind her." As these words were spoken, Wang Jianxiong and the remaining 5 elders exchanged looks, their hearts filled with dread. But what they did not know was that 800 years ago, Wanling Laozu was merely a half-demon dwelling within the 10,000 mountains. After I took him in, he remained by my side as a servant. I instructed him in the path of cultivation and bestowed upon him the necessary resources. In the span of a few short decades, the Wanling Laozu of today ascended to the ninth grade of the Wenling realm. Therefore, even after being expelled from the 10,000 mountains by me, he has never forgotten me in his heart. And within the veins of Qin Changyu flows my bloodline. Wanling Laozu spoke indifferently. The 6 of you will accompany me to the 10,000 mountains. Wan Jianchong was deeply confused. Had they not just severed ties with the great Xia dynasty? Why then must they travel to the 10,000 mountains? Wanling Laozu waved his hand dismissively. Who said we were going to assist the 6th prince? We are going there to kill the 6th prince. As these words resonated, the expressions of all present shifted. They could not help but wonder, could it be that the Qin family's ancestor is truly still alive? Wan Jianchong and the 5 elders were left trembling in fear. Yet, not daring to dwell on it, they hurried to follow closely behind Wanling Laozu. While on the path to the 10,000 mountains, Wan Jianjiong received a message via a transmission bird. Old Ancestor, I have just received word. Under the pretext that Qin Changyu has colluded with the demon race, the 6th prince has petitioned the emperor to dispatch an army to purge the 10,000 mountains. The request has been granted. Currently, an army of 100,000 is marching directly toward the 10,000 mountains. The force is being led by the god of slaughter, Yangshi. Furthermore, the Wu family has dispatched a powerhouse at the Wenling realm along with 15 experts of the Du Yi realm to converge upon the 10,000 mountains. Upon hearing this, the complexions of the 5 elders shifted. They had not expected the great Xia to mobilize so swiftly. As for Wanling Laozu, he let out a cold laugh upon hearing the report colluding with the demon race. How laughable. I fear they do not even realize who it was that suppressed the demons, preventing them from encroaching upon humanity all these years. At the same time, outside the 10,000 great mountains, Wang Meng stepped forward and spoke respectfully. Your Highness the Emperor has replied. Yangqi has gathered 100,000 troops. The Wu family has also dispatched 1 expert at the Wenling realm, along with over a dozen powerhouses at the Dui realm. They are already on their way. The army of 100,000 will require 3 days to arrive. However, the experts from the Wu family will reach this location in just 5 periods of incense. The 6th prince, Le Chengwan, struck the armrest of his chair, his eyes flashing with excitement. Qin Changyu, even if you have defected to the demon race, so what? Sooner or later, I will capture you. Beside him, Qin Jiawei maintained an expressionless face, yet deep within her heart she had begun to worry. Li Chengwan asked again, what of the Wanling sacred land? Wang Meng shook his head and replied, for now, there has been no response. Li Chenghuan flew into a rage. Those cursed dogs. Does this Wanling sacred land intend to betray the great Xia imperial clan? One day, I will surely have the imperial father massacre them all. But at that very moment, a message bird flew in. After reading the contents, Wang Meng's expression turned grim. The Wanling sacred land has declared its secession from the great Xia dynasty. Should the great Xia dynasty choose to declare war, the Wanling sacred land will see it through to the end. Upon hearing this, Li Chenghuan stood up abruptly, his eyes wide with disbelief. Wang Meng continued, Your Highness, the Wanling sacred land is not rebelling. They are severing ties with the great Xia dynasty. It is said that after the Wanling old ancestor emerged from seclusion and learned of the Qin family's situation, he personally executed the 7 elders who sided with us. Li Chenghuan was horrified. Why? What could be the reason for this? But just then, the piercing cry of an eagle resounded through the air. Li Chenghuan and his men looked up to see a massive creature soaring across the sky, eventually landing before the cliff where Li Chenghuan stood. As the 6th prince Li Chenghuan saw Sectmaster Wan, his expression darkened. Since the Wanling sacred land had chosen to break away from the great Xia dynasty, he knew the other party's arrival boded no good. Feigning ignorance, Li Chenghuan let out a loud laugh. Sectmaster Wan, you have finally arrived. Wan Jiansheng said nothing, while the Wanling old ancestor stared at Li Chenghuan with a fierce gaze. Who gave you the audacity? You dare to covet Qin Changyu and even lay a hand on the Qin family? Though his tone was calm, the oppressive aura emanating from him made Li Chenghuan's heart race with terror. Li Chenghuan felt his scalp. The Qin clan intends to rebel. It is not that I wish to move against them, but rather the great Xia dynasty that seeks their destruction. Wanling ancestor let out a cold laugh and remarked, Is that so? Then if my Wanling sacred land were to rebel as well, would you move against us too? Li Chengshuan's heart skipped a beat. Had he been within the imperial palace or even deep within the dynasty's territory, he would never have feared the Wanling ancestor. But here and now, the strongest among them, Cao Huayuan, was already dead. Li Chengshuan's face was slick with cold sweat. Ancestor, the great Xia dynasty has never once suggested moving against the Wanling sacred land. On the contrary, we have always relied upon your esteemed sect. To strike at the Qin clan is to strike at the Wanling sacred land itself. The Wanling ancestor's voice was frigid. Having said this, the Wanling ancestor began to ascend the cliff face, his steps slow and aged. At that moment, every single member of the Black Scale Guard became as tense as a drawn bowstring. Wang Mang stepped forward, saying, Ancestor, he is the 6th prince of Great Xia. There is still room to rectify this. If you proceed, the Wanling sacred land will never be able to rise again for an eternity. Is it your place to speak here? The Wanling ancestor huffed coldly. You are nothing more than a pack of hunting dogs. It is one thing to swagger and display your might in times of peace, but to betray your masters and now dare to prance before this old man. You truly have no regard for your own lives. No sooner had he finished speaking, the entire Black Scale Guard was wiped out in that very instant, including Wang Mang. All of them were dead. The spectacle caused Li Chengxuan's heart to leap into his throat. His face went ghastly pale as he tumbled backward, he and his wicker chair crashing heavily onto the ground. He scrambled to his feet instantly, retreating without pause. This was too terrifying. With just a single glance, a mere look had slaughtered several hundred black scale guards. Among those hundreds of guards, there were more than 10 at the Earth realm, yet it took only one look. What manner of monster is this? Li Chengxuan was truly consumed by terror. Qin Jiaowei's pupils contracted. The sheer horror of the Wanling ancestor had far surpassed her imagination. She could not fathom what kind of existence could reach such a terrifying level of power. To massacre hundreds of black scale guards with just a glance. Can a human being truly possess such power? In this fleeting moment, Qin Jiaofei finally understood the true definition of strength. Wanling Laozu ignored Qin Jiawei, preparing to strike Li Chengxuan down so he could take his head to Qin Li. But just then Qin Li's voice suddenly echoed within Wanling Laozu's mind, commanding him to spare the wretch's life. The voice was calm, yet it carried an indisputable, overbearing authority. It had been many years since Wanling Laozu had heard that familiar tone. His entire body trembled, his cloudy eyes brightened instantly, and his sockets even welled with moisture. He turned toward the great 10,000 mountains and bowed deeply in a gesture of profound reverence. This spectacle left everyone present, staring at one another in utter bewilderment. What is happening? What has come over Wanling Laozu? Wang Jiansheng and the others cast their gazes toward the great 10,000 mountains, their breathing hitching in their chests. Could the Qin family patriarch have finally revealed himself? Yet after observing for some time, they could not discern any trace of the Qin family patriarch. Patriarch? Wang Jiansheng could not help but call out. Only then did Wanling Laozu lift his head. You may return first. Wang Jiansheng was stunned, and he asked with confusion. But what of you, patriarch? Wanling Laozu spoke indifferently. Is Yang Qi not about to lead an army of 100,000 here? Slaughtering these black scale guards is one matter, but massacring that army of 100,000 is another. Upon hearing this, everyone present gasped, a chill running down their spines. Does Wanling Laozu intend to face an army of 100,000 all by himself? Just what kind of existence could drive Wanling Laozu to such a state of absolute, willing devotion? To pit one's own strength against an army of 100,000, Wang Jiansheng and the others initially intended to dissuade him, but ultimately they chose to depart under the stern, commanding gaze of Wanling Laozu. As for Li Chengxuan, Wanling Laozu did not take his life. Because Qin Li had issued the command, he dared not kill him, leaving Li Chengxuan abandoned where he lay. Although Li Chengxuan remained ignorant of what had transpired, after witnessing the terrifying power of Wanling Laozu, he did not dare to make a move. Meanwhile, Qin Jiawei was filled with curiosity, wondering to whom Wanling Laozu had just bowed. At the same time, Qin Chongyu had finished bathing and changing her attire. She walked before Qin Li. Qin Li surveyed Qin Chongyu. Clad in black robes, she had been completely transformed into a cold, icy beauty. Her exquisite face seemed covered in a layer of ancient eternal frost, which only thawed slightly when she faced Qin Li, revealing a flicker of deep respect. Take this and cultivate. With it, you shall achieve twice the results with half the effort. Qin Li indifferently tossed an ancient manual toward her. Qin Chongyu picked up the manual to examine it. The cover appeared quite weathered, yet the ink on the pages had not yet dried, making it clear that it had been written only moments ago. Qin Chongyu felt a violent tremor in her heart. To have created a cultivation technique of such heaven-defying potential in such a short span of time, and one that was perfectly suited to her, only deepened the reverence Qin Chongyu felt for Qin Li. I thank the old ancestor. Qin Chongyu bowed deeply with hands clasped, then took the Xuanyu JJ and retreated to a nearby thatched cottage to begin her cultivation. Ding, you have created the Xuanyu Jue for Qin Chongyue. You have been rewarded with 200,000 domain points. Hearing the system notification, Qin Li's eyes flickered slightly. It appeared that as long as he was fostering Qin Chongyu's growth, any method employed would yield rewards. In truth, when he had previously instructed the Wanling old ancestor to spare the sixth prince, Li Chenghuan, it was also to facilitate Qin Chongyue's cultivation. Qin Li had observed that after Qin Chongyue successfully avenged her city and struck down Cao Huajuan, her state of mind had shifted, which he counted as a form of cultivation. Through this, he had gained an additional 100,000 domain points. If you find this story compelling, please consider offering a free nomination ticket. Thank you all for your support. Copy the link below into your browser to access additional resources. Chapter 15. A Night of Inquiry into the Spirit. In all under heaven, who else possesses such strength? Qin Li utilized the 300,000 domain points he had just acquired to upgrade his influence. Within his domain of invincibility, the range expanded by another 600 li. The Great Xia Empire consists of 9 provinces in total, among which the Nanzhong province lies adjacent to the 10,000 Great Mountains. Its north-to-south expanse stretches over 11,000 li. As the reach of his invincible domain continued to expand, the previous 1,200 li of the Nanzhong province, combined with the current 600 li, brought the total coverage of the province to 1,500 li. Thus, approximately 1/6 of the Nanzhong province was now enveloped by Qin Li's domain. At this rate, it surely would not be long before his domain encompassed the entirety of the Nanzhong province. By that time, the whole of Nanzhong province would fall under the absolute control of Qin Li. Within those borders, Qin Li would be invincible. holding the power of life and death over every living soul throughout the entire province. Beyond the Nanjing province would be the Yiling province. The Yiling province is rough. Further to the north lies the central province, and the imperial city of the Great Xia dynasty is situated in the northern reaches of that very region. In other words, if his domain were to encompass the entirety of the central province, the lives and deaths of the entire Great Xia royal family would rest firmly in the palm of Qin Li's hand. Beyond that are the northern prefectures, and outside the borders of Great Xia lie the northern barbarians, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom to the east, and the western regions to the west. If he were to continue expanding his reach in this manner, the entire world would eventually be shrouded within Qin Li's invincible domain. Only then would Qin Li truly become the peerless sovereign of this era. If he could wait 1,000 years, what was this small amount of time in comparison? Qin Li muttered to himself, a subtle smile tugging at the corner of his lips, before summoning a mountain goat that walked upright on its hind legs. The night had fully descended, yet the sky above was vibrant with stars. The Milky Way seemed as though it might spill forth at any moment, rendering the night not truly dark at all. After 4 hours, the expert from the Wu family in the Wenling realm, accompanied by over 10 masters of the Dui realm, finally arrived at their destination. They caught sight of the hunched old man sitting cross-legged upon the cliffside, and they saw Li Chengxuan standing nearby, trembling uncontrollably. Seeing him cowering and shaking in fear, a chill ran down the spines of everyone in the Wu family. When Li Chengxuan caught sight of the Wu family, he was nearly driven mad with relief. Patriarch Wu, you have finally arrived. Save me. If you rescue me, once I return to court, I promise to grant the Wu family entry into the Holy Temple. Li Chengxuan cried out loudly. The man who had arrived was none other than the head of the Wu clan, the only powerhouse in the Wu family to have reached the Wenling realm. It was Wu Tiansheng, the father of Wu Meiling. When Qin Jiawei saw Wu Tiansheng, her beautiful face darkened slightly, and a flicker of hatred surfaced in her eyes. It was Wu Tiansheng who had caused her father Qin Lai to be summoned back by 20 consecutive imperial gold tablets. In this way, the underlying reason for his misfortune became clear. As it turned out, it was Wu Tiansheng who had fabricated countless pretexts to slander him. The Xia emperor was inherently suspicious, and he had chosen to heed Wu Tiansheng's words. Listening to the words of Wu Tiansheng, one could say that Wu Tiansheng was the true mastermind pulling the strings behind it all. Wu Tiansheng's face was flushed as red as a ripe apple, his head as broad as a platter, as he gazed with a grim expression toward the hunched old man. He cupped his hands and asked, "Might I dare ask if you, senior, are the progenitor of the Wanling Holy Land?" Wu Tiansheng had once seen a portrait of the Wanling progenitor, and thus he could roughly identify him, though he dared not be entirely certain. Clearly, those hundreds of black scale guards, including Wang Meng, must have been slaughtered by the Wanling progenitor. This realization sent shockwaves through the hearts of the Wu family. They looked at the Wanling progenitor with dread, and some even regretted coming here at all. As for the pleas for help from Li Chengxuan, they acted as if they could not hear them at all. The Wanling progenitor opened his murky, aged eyes and cast a casual, indifferent glance at the Wu family members. Who dares to trespass into the 10,000 mountains? Die. His voice was calm, yet to the ears of the Wu family it sounded like a thunderclap from a clear sky. Every member of the Wu family held their breath, truly not daring to take a single step further. Although Wanling Laozu did not explicitly confirm his identity, they understood that his silence was equivalent to an admission. Confronted by the arrogant words of Wanling Laozu, even Wu Tiansheng, who had already reached the second grade of the Wenling realm, did not dare to act presumptuously. Wu Tiansheng's demeanor was profoundly respectful as he spoke. Senior Wanling, in recent years, the Wanling Sacred Land has become the most formidable power among us. The Wanling Sacred Land is now on the verge of surpassing all other sacred lands. Is it truly worth risking this over the destruction of the Qin clan and a mere Qin Changyu, who is only at the 9th grade of the Jin Shen realm? Do you truly intend to bury the future of the Wanling Sacred Land? Pausing for a moment, Wu Tiansheng added, "My daughter is also within the Shiwan Great Mountains. I ask that you, senior, permit me to enter and retrieve her. Whatever conditions you require, you have only to name them." Begone. Wan Lao-tzu did not even deign to glance at him. He could not even be bothered to lift his eyelids. With a cold, sharp shout, a terrifying aura erupted, forcing Wu Tiansheng and his group of cultivators to stagger backward several paces. They all stared at Wanling Laozu in utter terror, their hearts seized by an encroaching dread. Wu Tiansheng's face cycled between shades of pale and crimson, yet he dared not reveal even a sliver of his indignation. Forced to swallow his resentment in silence, he led the Wu clan members away to a different mountain peak. The Wu clan showed no intention of departing, clearly waiting for Yang Qi's army of 100,000 to arrive. But Wanling Laozu remained indifferent, closing his eyes once more. His only duty was to guard this place. He would show no mercy to anyone who dared to step foot into the Shiwan Great Mountains. Whether they were 10 men or 100,000, to him there was no difference. Witnessing this scene, Li Chenghuan could not help but feel a sense of despair. A night passed, and the pale light of dawn gradually appeared in the east. A trail of purple energy slowly emerged. As time passed, it thickened, and in the blink of an eye, it condensed across the entire sky above the Shiwan Great Mountains. Wanling Laozu looked up at the gathering purple energy, a glimmer of light flashing in his cloudy eyes, for that was where his master resided. What is happening? Qin Jiawei gazed at the endless purple energy in the sky, filled with confusion. The expression of the sixth prince, Li Chengwan, shifted slightly as he exclaimed in horror, 10,000 miles of purple energy. This is the omen of a breakthrough to the Wenling realm. When one breaks through to the Wenling realm, a miracle manifests. This purple energy stretching for 10,000 miles is a sign visible from almost anywhere. Now that the omen has appeared, it is certain that a powerful cultivator of the Wenling realm is being born. They never expected to witness such an omen manifesting right here in the Shiwan Great Mountains. Who could possibly be assaulting the threshold of the Wenling realm? Could it be that the demon clan is about to produce yet another great demon of the Wenling realm? The members of the Wu clan stood up in unison, staring in shock at the 10,000 miles of purple energy above. Every face was etched with sheer astonishment. Patriarch, this is the purple energy of 10,000 miles. Someone is breaking through. They are entering the Wenling realm, a 6th grade Dui cultivator of the Wu clan said, trembling with fear. Ngo Thang watched the celestial phenomenon with uncertainty, his breathing becoming ragged and hurried. Who, buried deep within the 10,000 great mountains, had finally ascended to the Wenling realm? Within the entire world, individuals who have reached the Wenling realm are incredibly rare. Ordinarily, for a great power to have even 1 or 2 masters at the Wenling realm acting as guardians is considered an exceptional fortune. Take the great Shao imperial capital, for instance. Aside from the Qin clan, which possesses 2 experts of the Wenling realm, all other major families can boast of only 1. Every time a new Wenling realm expert emerges, it sends shockwaves through the entire kingdom, causing even the imperial family of Great Xia to dispatch envoys to personally deliver the congratulations of the Xia emperor alongside tributes prepared by the throne. This alone demonstrates the magnitude of importance such an ascension holds for the empire. System notice, copy the link below into your browser to receive additional resources. Chapter 16, Qin Changyu departs from the 10,000 Great Mountains. Shameless old thief, pay for your crimes with your life. Someone is once again breaking through to the Wenling realm within the 10,000 Great Mountains. Who could it possibly be? Ngo Thang murmured, gripped by suspicion. As a formidable powerhouse of the Wenling realm himself, he knew clearly that the 10,000-mile phenomenon of purple energy before him could not possibly be triggered by a demonic beast. While demonic beasts also manifest phenomena upon reaching the Wenling stage, their auras would be overflowing with demonic malice, unlike what is witnessed here. There is only dense, auspicious purple energy devoid of even a trace of demonic intent. Therefore, it is certain that a human is currently undergoing the Wenling ascension, but then, who is performing this feat deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains? Is this person truly not afraid of the great demonic beasts of the demon race descending to cause trouble? Ngo Thang stared fixedly at the phenomenon in the sky, his eyes fluctuating with unease. At that very moment, a colossal vortex formed, before descending sharply toward a specific location deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains. It is a success, Ngo Thang remarked in a low voice. Meanwhile, the other cultivators of the Ngo family wore expressions of deep envy. The 6th prince, Li Thuahuyan, also stood stunned, watching the boundless purple energy coalesce into a massive pillar of light. His gaze was hollow and unfocused. Neither Li Thuahuyan nor the members of the Ngo family realized that the person currently undergoing the Wenling ascension was none other than Qin Changyu, the very target they had been hunting. At the same time, on the main road of the central province bordering the Dilang prefecture, a burly middle-aged man clad in crimson armor, wearing a war helmet shaped like a fire dragon, led a unit of 10,000 iron cavalry. Galloping at breakneck speed, the middle-aged man's gaze was as sharp as a blade, and his killing intent flooded the heavens. He was none other than the great Shaz god of slaughter, Yang Qi. As Yang Qi was leading his march, he suddenly halted. He looked up toward the 10,000 mountain range, and his army of 100,000 soldiers stopped in unison, all of them witnessing that 10,000 miles of baleful energy. A lieutenant remarked in astonishment that Yang Qi was at the 2nd grade of the Spirit Inquiry realm, while his 2 deputies were only at the 1st grade of the Spirit Inquiry realm. Once one reaches the Spirit Inquiry realm, the disparity between even a single grade is immense, with a difference in power of at least tenfold. For instance, although both of Yang Qi's left and right lieutenants were at the 1st grade of the Spirit Inquiry, despite appearing only 1 grade below Yang Qi, even if the 2 of them joined forces, Yang Qi could still defeat them with a single hand, and it would be an absolute crushing victory at that. Otherwise, those 2 1st-grade Spirit Inquiry lieutenants would never have submitted to Yang Qi. The lieutenant on the right, clad in brilliant silver armor, spoke with a grave expression. General, judging by the direction, it must be within the 10,000 mountain range. Who exactly is undergoing the Spirit Inquiry within the 10,000 mountain range? Yang Qi's gaze remained indifferent as he said nothing. After a brief pause, he waved his hand and they continued their advance. At the same time, as Qin Changyu stepped into the Spirit Inquiry realm, she sat on the wooden bed, sensing the heaven-shattering power within her body, and could not help but feel a sense of bewilderment. She had entered the Spirit Inquiry realm, a realm she had previously dared not even imagine. After finding Qin Li in less than a single day, she had become a powerhouse of the Spirit Inquiry realm, standing on par with her eldest brother. The technique bestowed by the old ancestor is truly formidable, Qin Changyu exclaimed in surprise. She knew that without the cultivation manual Qin Li had given her, even with her 9th grade aptitude, it would have been impossible to say how long it would have taken to successfully achieve the Spirit Inquiry. The manual Qin Li gave her was the most suitable for her, and its rank far exceeded the finest techniques of the great Xia. Even those could not compare to the Xuan Jade art. Little girl. Just at that moment, Qin Li's voice echoed in Qin Changyu's ears. Qin Changyu quickly composed herself. She met Qin Li at the same place as yesterday. Changyu pays her respects to the old ancestor. Thank you, old ancestor, for bestowing the manual. It is because of you that my cultivation has been able to step into the spirit inquiry realm so quickly. Qin Changyu bowed with the utmost reverence. Qin Li said indifferently, now that you have entered the spirit inquiry, you possess the basic capability to seek your revenge. Currently, Li Chengshuan and Wu Tiancheng are waiting right at the entrance of the 10,000 mountain range. Wu Qing is the mastermind behind the tragedy of the Qin family, and he possesses the cultivation of the second-grade spirit inquiry. Do you dare to kill him? Is there anything I would not dare? Upon hearing the names Li Chengshuan and Wu Tiancheng, Qin Changyu's eyes were filled with heaven-reaching hatred. Good. Then take the Scarlet Phoenix sword and go seek your revenge. Use the divine abilities I have taught you. Qin Li spoke calmly, then instructed the Moon Rabbit to lead Qin Changyu away. As you command, Ancestor. Qin Changyu's expression was resolute. After bowing once more, she followed the Moon Rabbit out of the mountain stronghold. At the same moment, the system's voice echoed in Qin Li's mind. Ding. Qin Changyu's cultivation has increased to the first grade of the Spirit Inquiry realm, rewarded with 100,000 domain points. Ding. Qin Changyu's state of mind has shifted. Her desire for vengeance has intensified. Rewarded with 200,000 domain points, the domain range can be expanded by another 600 Li. Qin Li invested all his domain points into his invincible domain, further increasing its reach to encompass another 2,400 Li of the Nanzhong Prefecture. Having already surpassed 1/5 of the territory, Qin Li withdrew his focus. The day when his domain would shroud the entirety of Nanzhong was no longer far off. Meanwhile, after leaving the stronghold with the Moon Rabbit, the rabbit flickered, vanishing from their original spot. When they reappeared, they were already at the edge of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Qin Changyu's pupils constricted, and she was utterly shaken. What manner of technique was this? Teleporting across 1,000 miles. While a martial artist might attempt flight upon reaching the Purple Mansion realm, even those at the Spirit Inquiry realm could not perform instantaneous movement. Yet the Moon Rabbit had managed to carry her across such a vast distance in an instant. This left Qin Changyu in a state of constant shock, as she could not fathom the true depth of the Moon Rabbit's cultivation. Hehe, as long as you follow the master, you will eventually possess such abilities yourself. The Moon Rabbit giggled and said, very well, you must go now. Without the master's command, I cannot leave the 10,000 Great Mountains. The rest is up to you. Many thanks, Sister Moon Rabbit. Qin Changyu replied with due respect. Although the Moon Rabbit possessed the appearance of a young girl, looking even younger than Qin Changyu herself, Qin Changyu understood that the creature's true age likely spanned hundreds or even thousands of years. Therefore, addressing her as Sister Moon Rabbit was only fitting. Transforming into a streak of crimson light, Qin Changyu surged out of the 10,000 Great Mountains, appearing in the blink of an eye in the sky above Wu Tiancheng and the sixth prince, Li Chenghuan. Wu Tiancheng, you shameless old dog, today I have come to claim your life. The moment she appeared, Qin Changyu shouted coldly, her eyes locked firmly onto Wu Tiancheng. The members of the Wu family, Li Chenghuan, and even Qin Jiwei were startled by the sudden intrusion. Qin Changyu, you actually dare to show yourself? Upon seeing her, Li Chenghuan was stunned for a moment before becoming overjoyed. He had come to this location specifically to capture Qin Changyu, but because she had hidden within the 10,000 Great Mountains, finding her had proven nearly impossible. He never expected her to reveal herself voluntarily. Was this not the equivalent of offering herself up on a silver platter? Even the group led by Ngo Thang was momentarily stunned. Afterward, Ngo Thang cast a glance toward the Vanlin Old Ancestor. Seeing that the Vanlin Old Ancestor's expression remained entirely unchanged, it appeared he had no intention of intervening in this matter. A flicker of coldness flashed within his eyes. He already knew his daughter No Mai Lin was dead, and it was 9 parts certain she had perished at the hands of Tan Shuang Nuit. Ngo Thang leaped forward, arriving before Tan Shuang Nuit in the blink of an eye. As he confronted her, a cold sneer appeared on his face. It seems you can no longer wait to pay for Mai Lin's life with your own. Please submit your recommendations and votes, or copy the link below into your browser to unlock additional resources. This truly was the demeanor of a god of slaughter. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The remaining dozen-plus cultivators of the Doak realm from the No family moved in unison, flying to stand beside No Tianthong, all of them glaring intensely at Tan Shungyet. Patriarch Mai Ling died at the hands of Tan Shungyet. She was skinned and had her tendons pulled out. She died a wretched death. You must capture her alive so that we may avenge Mai Lin. Lai Thuahuan cast a glance toward the Vanlin Old Ancestor. He discovered that the Vanlin Old Ancestor had not even opened his eyes. It seemed he paid no heed to Tan Shuangwet whatsoever. It appeared he would not involve himself in this affair. Only then did Lai Thuahun dare to speak. Ngo Thang also bowed his head to look toward the Vanling Old Ancestor. Only after confirming that the Vanlin Old Ancestor would not intervene did he feel at ease. Yet, Ngo Thang remained deeply suspicious. If the Vanlin Old Ancestor had not come for Tan Shuangwet, then for what purpose was he present here? Who exactly was he guarding at the entrance to the 10,000 Great Mountains? No matter how much Ngo Thang pondered, he could not fathom the reason. In the end, he ceased his contemplation. After all, his sole purpose for being here was Tan Shuang Nuet. As long as he captured Tan Shuang Nuet, he would have no need to venture deeper into the 10,000 great mountains. Thus he gathered his thoughts and spoke with a hint of respect. Your Highness, the sixth prince, rest assured, I shall ensure she suffers greatly. Having said that, Ngo Thien Thong turned his gaze toward Tan Shuang Nuet. Will you sever your own meridians, or shall I personally torment you and strip away your cultivation? As soon as the words left his lips, the dozen-plus Duok realm cultivators of the Ngo family flashed into motion. They surrounded Tan Shuang Yet, pinning her in the center. Yet, Tan Shuang, she merely cast a glance at the dozen or so cultivators of the crossing calamity realm belonging to the Wu family. Then, with an icy tone, she spoke, If I were in your position, I would not waste breath on such superfluous words, for I would not merely cripple you, I would end your life. As the final word left her lips, a crimson longsword manifested in Shang Yu's grasp. The sword of the god of slaughter, the Scarlet Emperor sword. How could this be? The moment he laid eyes on the Scarlet Emperor sword, Wu Tiansheng immediately recognized its origin. It was the very blade wielded by the true Scarlet Emperor, the god of slaughter himself. Before the Scarlet Emperor, even Yang Qi, who is touted as the current god of slaughter, pales in comparison. They are not even on the same level. And yet this Scarlet Emperor sword was now held in the hands of Qin Changyu. It was no wonder Wu Tiansheng was struck with such shock. It was a terrifying existence capable of slaying those in the spirit inquiry realm. At the mere sight of that blade, even Wu Tiansheng could not help but recoil several steps. The dozen cultivators of the crossing calamity realm from the Wu family, upon hearing the name Scarlet Emperor Sword, were so terrified that they retreated over 10 zhang. It was an entirely instinctive reaction, which clearly demonstrates just how fearsome the infamous reputation of the Scarlet Emperor Sword truly is. The Scarlet Emperor Sword again? How is this possible? The sixth prince Li Chenghuan exclaimed, staring in disbelief at the sword in Qin Changyu's hands. Qin Jiaoyi's expression also shifted, and even the Wanling ancestor opened his eyes. He raised his head to gaze toward Qin Changyu. The master has even entrusted the Scarlet Emperor sword to her? It seems the master holds her in exceptionally high regard. The Wanling ancestor thought to himself. He was well aware of the relationship between the Scarlet Emperor and Qin Li. Years ago, the Scarlet Emperor wandered into the 10,000 Great Mountains, and later he engaged in a duel of ideals with Qin Li. He lost the wager to Qin Li and left the Scarlet Emperor sword in Qin Li's possession, while Qin Li in return offered the Scarlet Emperor guidance. After the Scarlet Emperor attained a new level of enlightenment, he departed the 10,000 Great Mountains. Yet before leaving, he bestowed the entirety of his life's teachings upon Qin Li. Unexpectedly, Qin Li had now seen fit to bestow this very Scarlet Emperor sword upon Qin Changyu. And what if it is the Scarlet Emperor sword? She is merely at the 9th grade of the Golden Body Realm. Seize her, and the Scarlet Emperor sword shall belong to our Wu family. Wu Tiansheng quickly regained his composure and let out a boisterous laugh. The other members of the Wu family reacted immediately. Indeed, for one of profound cultivation to possess the Scarlet Emperor sword is a formidable threat, but for a commoner to wield it is a crime in itself. Clearly, in their eyes, the fact that Qin Changyu possesses the Scarlet Emperor sword is a transgression. Therefore, of the more than 10 cultivators of the Tribulation Crossing realm from the Wu family, 2 immediately surged forward, charging straight toward Qin Changyu. Those 2 men of the Wu family was at the first stage of the Tribulation Crossing realm, and the other was at the third. Evidently, in their view, sending these 2 out was already making a mountain out of a molehill. Qin Changyu's gaze turned icy, her lithe body trembled slightly, and a terrifying cultivation aura instantly erupted. In a mere heartbeat, her figure flashed, and 9 blood-colored shadows wielding swords surged forth from her body. Those 9 blood shadows were incredibly swift, appearing before the 2 Wu family members, the first stage and third stage tribulation experts in the blink of an eye. Those 2 members of the Wu family possessed almost no power to resist. Before they could even react, 2 blood shadows had already pierced through their bodies. Both men shuddered violently as countless sword wounds appeared across their frames. Their bodies shattered like brittle glass, falling apart piece by piece, and immediately after, the remaining 7 blood shadows arrived before the 7 other members of the Wu family. The expressions of the 7 Wu family members shifted drastically. None of them had expected Qin Changyu's cultivation to be this terrifying. Not only had she stepped into the first stage of the spirit-questioning realm, but she also possessed such fearsome supernatural abilities. The 7 Wu family members unleashed all their techniques in an attempt to defend themselves, but those 7 blood shadows shattered every single layer of their defenses in an instant, piercing directly through their bodies. The 7 members of the Wu family disintegrated into masses of gore, dying without leaving their remains behind. Everything happened too quickly. In the blink of an eye, 9 tribulation crossing realm cultivators of the Wu family had perished at the hands of someone who had just stepped into the first stage of the spirit questioning realm. The 9 extremity sword shadows, how is this possible? Wu Tianxing's expression changed violently, his eyes filled with disbelief as he stared at Qin Changyu. The spirit questioning realm? Qin Changyu has actually attained the spirit questioning realm. How could this be? They had received definitive news that as of yesterday, Qin Changyu was still merely at the 9th stage of the Golden Body Realm. Yet, in such a short time, she has stepped into the Spirit Questioning Realm. Between these realms lie the Transformation Realm and the Tribulation Crossing Realm. Each realm contains 9 stages. How could Qin Changyu have bypassed 2 major realms in a single day to reach the spirit questioning realm? This matter is truly terrifying. Could the 10,000-mile vision of purple aura from earlier have been Qin Changyu's spirit questioning manifestation? And the 9 extremity sword shadows, that is the supreme sword art of the Scarlet Emperor. In years past, the Scarlet Emperor relied on this sword technique to battle those of higher cultivation realms. Could it be that Qin Changyu obtained the Scarlet Emperor's legacy deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains? Perhaps she even inherited the very cultivation base the Scarlet Emperor left behind, channeling it all into her body through the technique of direct empowerment. At this thought, Wu Tiansheng looked at Qin Changyu with a mix of shock and fury. He was shocked by Qin Changyu's cultivation and the 9 extreme sword shadows, yet enraged because his Wu family had lost 9 tribulation-crossing realm cultivators in a mere heartbeat. These were 9 tribulation-crossing realm cultivators, after all. The entire Wu family possessed only 20 such experts in total. To lose nearly half of them in a single encounter, for a great clan like the Wu family, was a devastating blow. It was a reality Wu Tiansheng found impossible to accept. The fire of rage within his heart burned with unrelenting intensity. He did not hesitate to command, "All of you, retreat." Note, the source text contains extraneous promotional web links. These have been omitted to maintain narrative flow. Chapter 18. You have no idea what manner of existence the Great Xia has provoked. The 4 remaining tribulation-crossing realm cultivators of the Wu family were so terrified that they were on the verge of collapse. How could they dare to remain a moment longer? They immediately turned to flee, wishing only that they had wings to escape with greater speed, yet Qin Changyu would naturally not allow them to depart. With a mere flick of her wrist, 4 crimson blood dragons surged forth from the Scarlet Emperor sword, lunging directly at the 4 Wu family cultivators. The Imperial Dragon Sword Art? How could you possibly know the Imperial Dragon Sword Art? Wu Tiansheng cried out in disbelief, yet his actions remained swift as he immediately unleashed his divine abilities, attempting to intercept the 4 sword dragons formed from sword energy. Whoosh! 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 But at that very moment, 9 blood-red phantoms descended upon Wu Tiansheng simultaneously. Wu Tiansheng's expression shifted, and he could only grit his teeth to block the 9 blood phantoms. As for the 4 Wu family cultivators, their fate was grim. 3 perished on the spot while 1 survived. This was not because his cultivation was profound enough to withstand the sword dragons Qin Changyu had conjured, but because Qin Changyu did not intend to end his life. She had further use for him, so she used her sword energy to seal the man's cultivation, and tossed him onto the cliffside. The Wu family cultivator stood there, trembling in terror, drenched in a cold sweat. He could not fathom what Qin Suet was planning, nor why he alone had been spared from death. The others watching this scene stood frozen in disbelief. The 6th prince, Li Chengyuan, stared blankly at the spectacle before him. In that moment, he felt as though he were caught in a waking nightmare. Impossible. This was absolutely impossible. It had to be a dream. How could Qin Changyu elevate her cultivation to the Wenling realm in just 1 short day? Li Chengyuan stumbled, collapsing heavily onto the ground. Zheng Tong stared at Qin Changyu, who stood suspended in midair. That massive silhouette loomed over him like a primal beast, slowly consuming his very soul. Qin Jiaoyi's jaw went slack as she gazed at Qin Changyu, her breath hitching in her throat. How could she be this powerful? Qin Jiaoyi could not help but speak out loud. The Wanling ancestor let out a cold, sharp laugh. Frogs at the bottom of a well. Just because you cannot achieve such a feat, does not mean the venerable cannot. I fear you do not yet grasp exactly what kind of entity the great Xia dynasty has provoked. By now, the Wanling ancestor understood why Qin Li had forbidden him from killing Li Chengyuan. It was clearly to temper Qin Changyu, to hasten Qin Changyu's growth, so that Qin Changyu might eventually destroy the entire great Xia with her own hands. He knew that with Qin Li's indifferent nature, the great Xia dynasty was not even worthy of Qin Li deigning to take action. Otherwise, if Qin Li were to truly intervene, a mere wave of his hand would be enough to wipe the great Xia from existence. Upon hearing this, Li Chengyuan stared blankly at the Wanling ancestor. Who exactly are you talking about? Who is this so-called venerable, and why would he choose to stand against our great Xia? Li Chengyuan's eyes were bloodshot, his sockets near the point of hemorrhaging. The Wanling ancestor ignored him, but after hearing his words, Qin Jiaowei seemed to realize something. She asked, "Could the venerable you speak of be the ancestor of our Qin clan? Is my Qin clan ancestor truly that terrifying?" A look of profound shock was etched across Qin Jiaowei's exquisite face. Wu Tiansheng looked at the 13 experts of the Dewey realm who had accompanied him, only to find that all but 1 had perished, and the only one remaining was clearly spared by Qin Changyu on purpose. Though he could not fathom why Qin Changyu had left a member of the Wu family alive, he no longer had the mental capacity to ponder the reason. Nothian Thong's eyes were brimming with rage and hatred. Qin Changyu had not only slain his daughter but also decimated 12 experts of the Dewey realm from the Wu family. It could be said that the 12 Dew realm experts of the Wu family had been indirectly wiped out by her hand. This realization pained Nothian Thang more than death itself. Nothian Thang could no longer think clearly. "Xian of the Qin family, I will surely reduce your bones to ash." Nothian Thang let out a roar, and a heavy iron saber appeared in his grasp. A faint cyan radiance emanated from the blade. Although this weapon did not compare to the Grade 9 spirit artifact, the Qi Huang sword, it was still a Grade 8 spirit artifact, and a supreme one at that. Its name was the Tianyuan saber. Clutching the Tianyuan saber, Ngo Thianthang bellowed. His internal chi surged violently, every meridian in his body opened wide, and his cultivation of the second stage of the Wenling realm erupted in full force. In an instant, Ngo Thianthang appeared before Qin Changyu. He swung the massive iron saber downwards with brutal force. It manifested into a gigantic blade shadow over 10 zhang in length. It descended viciously upon Qin Changyu. Qin Changyu's gaze remained tranquil, yet the killing intent radiating from her grew increasingly intense. The Chihuang sword in her hand flared with a brilliant crimson light. A heaven-shaking, earth-shattering explosion echoed through the air. Qin Changyu was sent flying by the immense shockwave, yet within her aura she remained unscathed. The terrifying blade shadow did not dissipate. After grazing the barrier around Qin Changyu, it cleaved into the mountain behind her. Rumble, another massive explosion erupted. The mountain, towering several hundred zhang high, was sliced clean in two. As the mountain collapsed in a thunderous roar, one could truly grasp the terrifying scale of power possessed by the Wenling realm. Let us see how many strikes you can withstand. Murderous intent filled Ngo Thianthang's eyes as cyan light condensed around his body. A moment later, a colossal entity materialized behind him, a terrifying phantom standing 100 zhang tall. This was the Wu family's most powerful divine ability. It is said that the summoning of the gods consumes the lifespan of its user once activated. The longer it is maintained, the greater the toll on one's longevity, but this ability allows for an eruption of power far surpassing the user's base strength. Fighting against those of higher cultivation levels becomes a trivial feat. In the Wenling realm, each stage represents a tenfold difference in power. This serves to illustrate just how formidable the summoning of the gods is. At this moment, Ngo Thianthang no longer cared about capturing Qin Changyu alive. Now he only wished to slay her to vent the hatred in his heart. A terrifying blade shadow descended, causing even the space around it to tremble. Kill her, slay her at once. Li Chengshuan stared intently at the scene unfolding in the sky. Gritting his teeth in fury, he no longer dared to dream of capturing Qin Changyu alive. He was terrified now, he only prayed for her death. Yet Qin Changyu remained standing in place unmoving. Watching the terrifying blade aura closing in on her, her gaze grew even colder. Heavenly slash, she whispered, as a brilliant blood-red radiance erupted from her body and a crimson silhouette vaguely manifested behind her. Though the blood-colored figure appeared no larger than an ordinary human, it exuded a heaven-shaking murderous aura. This aura was so potent that it even overshadowed the colossal phantom looming behind Wu Tiansheng. In truth, that crimson figure was a manifestation of the will left behind by the Scarlet Emperor within the Scarlet Emperor sword. Only by executing the heavenly slash technique could this will be awakened, drawing forth the entirety of the sword chi and the blood slaughter energy from the blade. In doing so, it unleashed a heaven-slash-sword technique that transcended all limits. A blood-red sword beam tore across the sky, instantly shattering the opposing blade aura, and surged forward directly toward Wu Tiansheng, piercing through both his physical body and the giant phantom behind him. This is the author's first time writing a story. I hope everyone will be kind and show some support. Thank you all. Copy the link below and open in your browser to receive additional resources. Chapter 19, A Taste of His Own Medicine. With a dull thud, Wu Tiansheng spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His eyes were dim and the true chi within his body had been completely sealed. In that brief moment, he had felt the chilling touch of death. He had truly felt the clear threat of the afterlife. Yet, at the final moment, that terrifying sword chi did not claim his life. Instead, it sealed his entire cultivation, rendering him no more than an ordinary mortal. What exactly was Qin Changyu planning? Wu Tiansheng was gripped by both immense terror and deep confusion. That heavenly slash strike of hers clearly could have ended his life, yet Qin Changyu chose not to do so, merely sealing his cultivation instead. Wu Tiansheng refused to believe that she had suddenly developed a sense of mercy. If she did not kill him, she undoubtedly harbored a much grander, more sinister scheme. This realization only deepened the growing unease in his heart. Qin Changyu retracted the Scarlet Emperor sword, seized Wu Tiansheng, and descended onto the cliffside where the Wanling Ancestor resided. Upon seeing the Wanling Ancestor, Qin Changyu paused. Ancestor, could it be? Qin Changyu looked at the Wanling Ancestor with a slight furrow in her brow. Her master had been killed by the people of the Great Xia dynasty within the Wanling Holy Land. Without the express permission of the Wanling Holy Land, the Great Xia dynasty could never have succeeded in murdering her master. Therefore, the moment she laid eyes on the Wanling Ancestor, she assumed he too stood with the Great Xia imperial clan. Yet a trace of remorse flickered across the Wanling Ancestor's expression. Shuangyu, I have been in seclusion for the past few days and was completely unaware of the events that transpired within the Holy Land. I only learned of the Qin family situation yesterday. This matter is my fault. However, the individuals from the Wanling Holy Land who murdered your master, I have already executed them all. Furthermore, the Wanling Holy Land has severed ties with the Great Xia dynasty, and from this life forward we shall have no further association with the Great Xia. I thank you, Ancestor. Qin Changyu cupped her hands with formal courtesy, though a sense of doubt remained in her heart. Ancestor, you came, Hugh began, but the Wanling Ancestor spoke first. I originally intended to kill Li Chengshuan to avenge the Qin family, but the Revered One ordered that Li Chengshuan be kept alive for you to handle, which is why I am waiting here for Yang Qi to arrive with his army of 100,000. The Revered One? Qin Changyu asked, bewildered. The Wanling ancestor explained, the revered one is of course your Qin family ancestor. Qin Li was the master of the Wanling ancestor. In other words, the Wanling ancestor was merely a servant to her own ancestor, Qin Li. At that moment, Qin Changyu finally understood why she had been personally appointed as the saintess of the Wanling Holy Land by the Wanling ancestor himself. She finally understood why the cardinal rule of the Wanling Holy Land was to maintain an alliance with the Qin family. It turned out that all of this was because the founder of the Wanling Holy Land, the Wanling ancestor, was nothing more than a servant to their Qin family ancestor, Qin Li. Upon hearing this, Qin Changyu felt an even deeper sense of reverence for Qin Li. The Wanling ancestor, whose fame shook the great Xia, was rumored to be one of the few who possessed the power to shatter the void. At this sight, Li Chengxuan and Wu Tiansheng both drew a sharp breath of cold air, staring at the Wanling ancestor in sheer terror. The Qin family ancestor was truly still alive, and even the world-renowned Wanling ancestor was but a servant to him. No wonder he dared to guard this place alone, waiting for Yangqi's 100,000 troops. This Qin family ancestor was truly terrifying beyond measure. If an existence such as the Wanling ancestor was merely his servant, then just how formidable must the man himself be? At this moment, both Li Chengxuan and Wu Tiansheng were consumed by regret, especially Li Chengxuan as he recalled the words the Wanling ancestor had spoken earlier. What kind of existence had they truly provoked? If they had not set their sights on Qin Changyu, would they have avoided the fate that befell them today? Now that they have fallen into the hands of Qin Changyu, no one knows what their final outcome will be, but falling into her hands, it is certain that no good end awaits them. At this moment, the Wanling ancestor nodded. That is correct. The Xia Emperor has issued a decree to declare war on the Demon Clan and has ordered an incursion into the 10,000 Great Mountains to capture you. Haha, my prestige is truly great, is it not? Qin Changyu let out a cold laugh. She no longer wished to concern herself with the affairs of Yangqi. In the past, she had held Yangqi in high regard. After all, he was the god of slaughter of the Great Xia, a man dedicated solely to the kingdom. She did not know how many enemies he had eradicated for the sake of Great Xia, but now she no longer felt anything toward him. She was not the least bit worried that Yangqi would pose any danger to Qin Li. She understood the terrifying nature of Qin Li all too well. If Yangqi dared to come, no one would leave the 10,000 Great Mountains alive. Just as she prepared to dispose of Wu Tiansheng and Li Chenghuan, Qin Jiawei, who had remained silent all this time, suddenly spoke up, Sister Cheng Yuji, Yangqi is the mastermind behind the death of our second brother. It was he who framed him, leading to our second brother's execution by dismemberment. What? A chilling frost settled upon Qin Changyu's beautiful face as she looked toward Qin Jiawei. Are you telling the truth? Second brother Qin Feng was the youngest general in the Great Xia. He sacrificed an arm for the kingdom, and was subsequently framed for slandering the Xia Emperor, leading to his horrific execution. To think that all of this was orchestrated by Yangqi. This revelation caused the killing intent within Qin Changyu's heart to rise to its absolute limit. Everything I say is the absolute truth. For the past few days, I have been keeping watch beside Li Chenghuan. I heard him confess it with my own ears, Qin Jiawei said, gnashing her teeth in hatred. Qin Changyu turned her gaze toward Li Chenghuan. Li Chenghuan trembled violently, his face drained of color, filled with pure terror. I do not know. Qin Changyu spoke with icy indifference. I will give you only one chance. Li Chenghuan's mental defenses completely collapsed. He struggled for a long moment before finally trembling as he spoke. It is true, it was indeed Yangqi's doing. Waves of killing intent surged from Qin Changyu's body. Her eyes turned slightly red and the face and voice of Qin Feng flooded her mind. Changyu, run quickly. Dada knows we snuck the candy. Changyu, this is a toy I brought back from the Fox clan. How interesting. This is a gift for you from your second brother. What is the matter? Shangyu, has your older brother scolded you again? Let us play a game of hide and seek. Now that you have arrived at the Wanling sacred ground, you must dedicate yourself to your cultivation. If you no longer wish to remain at the Wanling sacred ground, send word to me via transmission talisman, and your second brother will surely come to bring you home. Since they were children, Qin Feng had always doted on Qin Shangyu the most. Every time he returned from a campaign, he would bring her all sorts of rare and curious trinkets. At the mere thought of Qin Feng being murdered by Yangqi, the killing intent in her heart erupted violently. The murderous aura in Qin Shangyu's heart surged to its peak, yet she forced herself to suppress it. She only needed to remain here and wait for Yangqi to arrive. Following this, Qin Shangyu cast a glance at Wu Tiansheng, her eyes flickering with lethal intent. I shall grant you one chance at survival. Qin Shangyu looked at the last surviving cultivator of the Wu family in the Dewy Realm, then tossed an ordinary dagger at his feet. She said coldly, subject Wu Tiansheng to the torture of 1,000 cuts. If he remains alive until you have carved the final piece of flesh from his body, I shall spare your life. Chapter 20. How does the taste of the 1,000 cuts feel? Upon hearing Qin Shangyu's words, the expressions of those present shifted instantly. They stared at Qin Shangyu in terror. None could have expected that the once kind saintess, the true saintess of the Wanling sacred ground, would be capable of such a horrific act. Her drastic change in character was truly beyond belief, especially to Wu Tiansheng. His face paled and he stared intently at Qin Shangyu, his heart torn between surging rage and overwhelming dread. Do you truly believe that my Wu family is as useless as you claim? How truly laughable. Wu Tiansheng said coldly. Despite his bold words, as he glanced toward the final Wu family member of the Dewey realm, his eyes were filled with hesitation and anxiety. Qin Shangyu did not bother to pay any attention to Wu Tiansheng. If that is the case, then I shall act myself. The member of the Wu family looked at the dagger on the ground with bloodshot eyes. His hands trembled, and before the eyes of the crowd, he crouched down. He picked up the dagger. He picked up the dagger. Patriarch, I told you a long time ago, don't mess with the Qin family. Why didn't you listen? Wu Tiansheng's face changed drastically. He roared in anger, Wu Yuansheng, you're betraying me for glory. You dare to attack me just to live? The corner of Wu Yuansheng's mouth twitched. Patriarch, even if I didn't do it, she would have done it herself. In that case, just help me out. Rest assured, as long as I'm alive, I will definitely make the Wu family rise again. Wu Yuansheng's cultivation is at the 8th rank of the Crossing Tribulation realm. In fact, among the Wu family members who came to help this time, besides the patriarch Wu Tiansheng, he was the strongest. With that said, Wu Yuansheng walked step by step in front of Wu Tiansheng. Each of his steps was extremely heavy, and even his calves were trembling. To execute Ling Qi on his own patriarch, such a thing is unacceptable to anyone, but in order to live, he could only do so. Seeing Wu Yuansheng approaching him, Wu Tiansheng roared angrily. Wu Yuansheng gritted his teeth, and the tip of the dagger fell on Wu Tiansheng's shoulder. With a tearing sound, the clothes on his shoulder were torn open. A piece of skin was peeled off, but not much could be peeled off, because the dagger was dull. Ah, Wu Tiansheng screamed miserably, his face twisted with pain. He is a great cultivator in the Wenling realm. When has he ever suffered such pain? He wanted to struggle, but found that as soon as the sword energy in his body moved, it directly imprisoned him in place, unable to move. Patriarch, please forgive me. Wu Yuansheng struck another blow, peeling off a piece of flesh and blood from Wu Tiansheng, which could be said to be sawed off alive. Because this dagger was extremely blunt, it looked difficult to cut even tofu, let alone cut flesh, so the pain was doubled. Li Chengyuan stood beside him, his scalp tingling. He felt nauseous and kept dry heaving. Too cruel. Ling Qi normally uses an extremely sharp knife and invites experienced people. Piece by piece, the flesh is peeled off the prisoner's body, and in the process, the vital points must not be damaged. It must be ensured that before the last piece of meat is peeled off, the person is still not dead. Otherwise, once the prisoner dies first, the executioner will be the one to die. Therefore, Ling Qi is known as the most terrifying death penalty. But at this time, the knife used on Wu Tiansheng was not sharp at all, and could even be said to be extremely blunt. The duller the knife, the longer it takes to cut the meat, and the more painful it is to chop it on the body. The pain caused by sawing is much stronger than being cut by a knife. Moreover, Wu Tiansheng himself is a strong person in the Wenling realm, and his physique has reached the limit of human beings. As long as the vital points are not damaged, he will not die at all. Therefore, each knife fell, causing Wu Tiansheng's whole body to be stained red with blood, but his vitality was still extremely tenacious. This scene literally made Qin Qiuwei's delicate body tremble. Even Wu Yuansheng, who was doing a churn, he was shaking like a leaf. Only Wanling old Ancestor and Qin Changyue remained unfazed. Scared, are we? Qin Changyu glanced at Qin Jiaowei and said coldly. Back then, father suffered the same fate in the imperial city. Right before the masses, his flesh was sliced off piece by piece, but even until his last breath, his back never bent. Qin Zhao's breathing hitched. After a long silence, she shook her head and said, I'm not scared. Her eyes gradually became more resolute. Qin Changyue nodded. She looked at Li Cheng's terrified expression, a cold glint flashing in her eyes. This was exactly the scene she wanted to see. There was absolutely no way she was going to let Li Chengshuan off easy. Li Chengshuan was definitely going to die, but he was the cause of everything. Therefore, Qin Changyue had to make Li Chengshuan taste enough fear and suffer enough pain before killing him. If she just offed him right away, wouldn't that be too easy on him? Meanwhile, on a mountain in the extinguished 10,000 Great Mountains, Yotu stood barefoot on a rock, looking excitedly towards Qin Changyue. Not bad, little master is growing up. If you want to survive in the human world, you can't be soft. Yotu understood all too well how humans deceive each other. A person without a cold heart definitely won't live long. Qin Changyue's growth made Yotu extremely satisfied, while Qin Li in the mountain village was naturally watching this scene as well. His expression didn't waver much. Ding. Qin Changshue's mindset has changed. Her desire for revenge has intensified. Rewarding 200,000 domain points. Ding, new target detected. Qin Jiaowei will grant domain points. Qin Li's eyes lit up. Qin Jiaowei must be that stunning girl following Li Chengshuan. Judging by her bloodline and Qin Changyue's are almost from the same source. She must be from the Qin family. Nurturing her will also grant domain points. What a great quest. She's only at the 9th rank of the Violet Palace realm, which is the 3rd stage of cultivation. If he nurtures her to maturity, he should receive even more domain points. The moon rose and fell, the sun rose and set. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Wu Tiansheng couldn't take it anymore. He collapsed to the ground, his body was almost bled dry. Fresh blood stained the ground, there wasn't much intact flesh left on his body. He fainted from the pain several times, only to be awakened by it again. He regretted it countless times. Why did he plot against the Qin family? Not only did he doom his own daughter, but he ended up like this, unable to live, unable to die. Even the Wu family will crumble soon. All because they messed with the Qin family. Turns out a hidden monster backs the Qin clan. Right now, all he wants is for Qin Changyu to give him a quick death. Wu Tiansheng is so weakened, even his Wenling cultivation can't handle this damage. No matter how careful Wu Yansheng is, he still lacks experience. Meanwhile, Wu Yansheng is being extra cautious, scared he'll accidentally off Wu Tiansheng and lose his own life. Just then, a white figure appears on the cliff face. No one saw how she even got there. She arrived without a sound. After appearing, she walks up to Qin Changyu. This is what Master has bestowed upon you. He said it can increase your cultivation. With that, she hands Qin Changyu a pill. Chapter 21. If anything happens, we'll take the blame for you. It's a Shu Ling pill. Seeing the pill, Wanling old ancestor looks shocked, then jumps up and rushes over to Yu. He clasps his hands respectfully. Wanling greets Senior. The person delivering the pill to Qin Changyu is, of course, Yu. He stares at the pill in Yutu's palm, radiating endless mysterious energy, his face showing utter shock. The method for refining the Shu Ling pill has long been lost. This pill, once consumed, can help a cultivator break through the 9th grade bottleneck and enter Wenling. Plus, it guarantees a successful Wenling breakthrough. If a Wenling cultivator takes it, they'll definitely increase their cultivation by 1 grade, showing just how insane this pill is. Even the great Xia royal family doesn't have this kind of elixir, because if a pill like this ever appears, it'll be snatched up immediately. No one can hold on to it. Who would have thought the Qin family old ancestor would casually toss Qin Changyu a Shu Ling pill? Li Chenghuan glances at Yu, and her beauty leaves him even more stunned. Yu's looks are not inferior to Qin Changyu's, and she also has a spiritual aura that Qin Changyu lacks. That makes Li Chenghuan's heart pound. He didn't expect the Qin family's old ancestor to have such a gorgeous maid, and it's not just Li Chenghuan. Wu Yansheng pauses at the sight too, staring at the Shu Ling pill in Yuetu's hand. Right now, Wu Yansheng is at the 8th grade tribulation passing stage, only a tiny step away from the legendary asking spirit realm. If he could get a void spirit pill, he could save dozens of years, even over 100 years of arduous cultivation. And now such a heaven-defying pill is being treated like a regular cultivation booster. This absolute unit can only watch as Qin Changyu takes the pill, then respectfully says, "Sis Yue, please thank old ancestor for me." "Alright, just focus on your revenge. We'll take care of everything no matter what happens." Yu giggles and gulps at Wanling old ancestor, casually saying, "Master said you did pretty well." Hearing this, Wanling old ancestor is ecstatic and immediately kneels down to kowtow. "Thank you, Your Excellency." By the time he looks up, Yu has vanished without a trace. This scene makes the pupils of the dying Li Chengxuan and Wu Tiansheng shrink. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Yu's words sound casual, but the dominance and majesty in every word are unmatched. Just saying "we'll take care of everything" shows that the family old ancestor completely disregards the great Xia dynasty. Even if they turn the great Xia upside down, they can handle it. They aren't scared at all. Because of this, even an existence nearly equal to the great Xia emperor like Wanling old ancestor is ecstatic just to have the opportunity to cultivate beside the Qin family old ancestor for a few years. His excitement shows just how terrifying this Qin family old ancestor is. "Oh yeah, Master also told me to do something I almost forgot." Just then, Yu reappears and goes to Qin Jiaowei asking, "Are you the Qin family's youngest daughter?" "Qin Jiaowei, right?" Qin Jiaowei is stunned, then nods. "I am Qin Jiaowei." Watu nods. "That's right then, Master told me to ask you, are you willing to follow him to cultivate? If you are, then come with me." As soon as these words are spoken, everyone is dumbfounded. In Wanling old ancestor's eyes, envy is clear. He knows that Qin Jiaowei will likely ascend to the heavens from now on. Being able to cultivate beside Qin Li, just look at Qin Changyue to know. Qin Jiaowei looks at Qin Changyue. Qin Changyue says, "You're so lucky, the old ancestor took a liking to you. Go, I'll bring back some heads of the great Xia royal family for you." Her words completely disregard the great Xia royal family, as if the entire great Xia royal family is just ants in front of her. Qin Jiaoyu nodded, looking at Yu. "I'm going with you." Yu didn't say anything more, wrapped up Qin Jiaoyu and vanished. Seeing this, despair and regret surged in Li Chengwan's heart. Forget the Qin family's old ancestor making a move personally. Even just a maidservant in his hands is not something the great Xia dynasty can resist. So scary, what realm has this great demon reached? Seeing this, Wu Tiansheng had a tear of regret streaming down his face, even though his whole body was still imprisoned by sword qi. But his exposed heart began to beat wildly. Then it contracted violently. Wu Yuansh, who was performing the execution, screamed in horror, looking at Wu Tiansheng in shock. But it was too late. Wu Tiansheng's eyes widened, fresh blood kept gushing from his mouth, and he literally died from rage. She looked at Qin Changyu, a cold light already flashing in her pupils. She didn't even bother listening to his pleas. The sword qi in her body erupted, instantly piercing through his body. Wu Yuansheng, his entire body riddled with holes, stared wide-eyed, collapsing straight to the ground. More than 10 members of the Wu family who came here were all dead, while Qin Changyu acted like nothing happened, and continued to sit cross-legged cultivating. Li Chenghuan was completely stunned by this sight. Qin Changyu's cruelty made him feel fear. He never expected that after only a few days apart, Qin Changyu would become so ruthless. She has brought all the suffering that the Qin family had to endure onto the Wu family, so how exactly will Qin Changyu deal with him? That made Li Chenghuan even more afraid. Li Chenghuan almost completely collapsed. He directly knelt down. "Changyu, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Everything I did was just to be with you. But I really didn't expect Father to order the annihilation of the entire Qin family. I just wanted to scare you and then keep you by my side. I really didn't have any malicious intentions. You have to believe me. As long as you are willing to forgive me, you can ask me to do anything, and I am willing to do anything, okay? I really don't want to die. But Qin Changyu didn't even bother to open her eyes, as if she didn't hear Li Chenghuan's pleas at all. The more silent Qin Changyu was, the more afraid Li Chenghuan became. He crawled to Qin Changyu's feet, only to be sent flying away and slammed heavily on the ground, passing out on the spot. At that moment, Qin Changyu's cultivation once again increased sharply. From Wenling first grade to Wenling second grade, it only took a few short minutes, which shows how overpowered the Shuling pill is. After her cultivation increased, Qin Changyu looked towards Li Chenghuan, the hatred in her eyes surging